this appointment in the same context as the Camana James success at the Olympics in 2012. Colleagues, sometimes when we are looking at our own future, we look back at certain things that happened. And over the weekend, I had to address a number of regional, international media who were calling me about this appointment and asking me about the significance of it. And I need to state here that for someone to get the backing of literally all of the leaders of the region, because that is the constitutional setup of the ECCB. The leaders must be the one to make the final decision. To get that endorsement in an unqualified way, especially when the competition was pretty stiff, is a clear indication of the quality of Timothy Antwine. And as I said, I feel proud as a Grenadian, not just as Prime Minister. As I said, when Camana won, I wasn't Prime Minister, but I felt proud as a Grenadian. I believe, therefore, while we might feel there will be a void for us as a country and for the government of the day and for myself as Minister of Finance, I believe Timothy has not been lost to us, and we must see it. The region, yes, has gained enormously, but I don't believe we have lost, because the governor of the central bank, to some extent, has to be seen as an advisor to all governments of the OECS, who are members of the monetary union, particularly on fiscal matters. So in that sense, he will be there, like Sir Dwight Venner was, to give us advice on critical issues related to economic activities. So I wanted to show the nation that we don't believe, and I'm the one closest to the action, that we would have lost Timothy Antwine. In the process of preparing, because I'm sure you've heard also that is expected to take up the appointment on February 1st. I assume that you've heard that. It means that we have to move fast to make the adjustments within the ministry to ensure that our work on activity is not interfered with or reduced to any serious extent. We are already planning, and I was also planning for a national address, which I should be doing sometime next week, to make certain announcements with respect to additional support for the Ministry of Finance and the government. We will be acquiring an economic advisor with years of experience in serious economic development. So we just have to move the date forward to ensure that the person will be available earlier than we had originally planned. We're also looking at macroeconomic advisor who's already here and supported by the Commonwealth Secretariat. We also will be getting a debt advisor. We're already in touch with the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. So I don't know that, given that Timmy will be there, that since there was a good indication that ECCB will support it. I don't expect Timmy will overturn that decision. So that is going to be an important area for us. We also are looking for, and we have a few candidates, macroeconomic planner, and the search committee is on for this. And the economic division of the Ministry of Finance would also be upgraded with a number of personnel who are already there. We expect to be giving them additional responsibility. We also are looking at promotion in-house. We should be aware that the gains of the country during the period of the first 2 years of the structural adjustment program must not and should not have been seen as just a success of the Minister of Finance or the government or one individual, Timothy Entwine, who led the Ministry of Finance Administrative Division. There are a number of competent, hard-working, capable Grenadians in that ministry who were providing human service. So the budget division, headed by Kim, but certainly we were proud of that. We have a number of young people there working with us. So Kim may be moving up and recommended for additional responsibility in administration. And the other personnel there would also be upgraded. Recommendation, it's not an appointment of the political director, but certainly we have a responsibility to make recommendation to the Public Service Commission. So this would have to be, the timetable for this would have to be moved up as quickly as possible. So I assure you and assure the nation that we are very confident that while Timmy physically will not be here with us from February 1st, that in effect we believe that the progress of the government and the interest we have in the success of the economy this year will not be reduced. I just also want to announce some major initiatives or activities that will be occurring that have tremendous possibilities for the country. Stadium open, as you know, on the 23rd of January. The Minister of Sports has been informing you that it's important for the nation to take note because that is crucial. CONCACAF on the 17 finals from the 3rd to the 13th of March. You'll have hundreds of sports persons here because that's going to be, the eyes of the world would be on Grenada. CARIFTA, 26th to the 28th, as you know, hundreds of sports persons and media persons and scouts, because you know CARIFTA has brought forth a lot of the stars that you see in the international arena today, the Carney James, the Usain Bolt and all the guys and them Campbells and them in Jamaica have been stars at CARIFTA. That's where they were first seen and recognized. And trade winds in April, over 2,000 persons would be here. That's an enormous boost to the tourism product. There will be a lot of opportunities for service providers, not just hotel space, but there are a number of persons who will be contracted to provide in food and other facilities and support services to 2,000 visited for a good period of time. It means, therefore, sisters and brothers, that things are looking up in every respect. We came out of a very good Christmas, and I think we enter in, after Santa Claus departs, we are entering really reasonably good period in January and facing a success, I believe, in 2016 with God's help, of course. And as I mentioned on the budget, a lot of economic activities would have taken place, would be taking place later this year. I just want to address briefly the issue of Camana Park, and you may have additional questions. And before I say this, I just want to point out, Timmy Twine already had indicated to me a short while ago that he was planning to meet you later this morning. But since you already are here, he said he'd prefer to do it immediately after this. So he will come in, and then you could ask him all the nice questions, all the questions that you wish to ask. First of all, sisters and brothers, I don't understand. I'm at loss to find out what all the hoopla about Camana Park is about. And I say this in the context that the government has made no decision with respect to Camana Park. You would recall that on the budget of 2016, which I presented at the end of November last year, that I took time out to inform the nation as to what was being advanced as possibilities for Camana Park and for further development in the country. In the context, I was talking about development in the country as a whole. I did not, and that was unusual, to talk about an issue of this nature and a budget, but I felt it was of national consequences enough to mention it. And I did promise the nation that there will be no decision on the movement of the present park unless we are satisfied that the proposal presented by the possible developers meet the support of the government and people of Grenada, Carriacou and P.D. Martinique. That was a commitment I made. And I explained we are all for development, but not at the expense of the interests of the people of the country. That's been my history. My history is quite clear on this matter. And therefore, I also made the point that not only we have to be satisfied that there is always available are specific, serious facilities for the people of the country as it relates to the beach and recreation in that area. But we have to be satisfied that any new plans would have to be an upgraded aspect of this. In other words, there must be more facilities, more access, and better services in that particular area. And I made the point at the social partners meeting, because I was asked about that 2 months before. And certain persons I see on TV today were sitting there. In fact, one of them asked the question. And I said to them just what I have said to you. And I said to them further, you should know politically that I am not foolish. And I'm not a person who would give my opponent political weapon to knock me. So any decision I make would have to be in the context of what is satisfactory and accepted by the people. So rest assured, the social partners would be involved, our country would be involved, the government of the day would be involved after we receive the proposal from the developers. What I could not do, and which Keith Mitchell is known to always be consistent on, is to tell lies. I don't tell, I tell in lies. So if I'm asked by anyone whether we were considering some an activity, a modernization or improvement or some movement or some modification, for me to say, no, we're not considering, I'll be a liar. And I don't like telling lies. And this is as far as I went. So I reaffirm that position and say to those persons that you ought not to be worried. Now let me make up my political point on this. I am convinced that many persons who are expressing concern about the park are genuine about their concern. Because maybe we were not as clear in every statement that we have made, and every minister or whoever and myself have made, in reinforcing and reaffirming our position. And maybe words may be misplaced by some of us, including me. But the intention is what you have to take. So, for those who are genuinely concerned, they ought not to worry. Minister Steele will make a point on this when I'm finished, because he's involved and will be involved in going forward. But I'm convinced also, as you know, there are some of us who are interested in politics, 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 politics. And I have no problem with that, because I understand the coming period will become more and more of this. You will see more and more of this. I just don't want innocent people to be taken up or used by those who have seriously just a political agenda, nothing else. And just to remind you, some of the persons I am talking today are the same ones who did not want to see the cruise ship terminal. Grenada was going to be destroyed. We'd lose Grenada. Some of the same ones, I say some because some I've not seen everybody doing the same thing. I'm being careful of my words. Some people were the ones making noise about the lagoon, Port Louis. I remember when the environment was going to be destroyed. I remember also when millions of dollars were being spent to clean up the lagoon, we were dumping everything at the lagoon. Human waste, trash that was supposed to go to Perseverance was shortcutted to the lagoon. All old cars, everything when they were cleaning up, they found there. Fishes were afraid of the lagoon. No fish went there. The lagoon is cleaned up. And you see guys all over the place, little snappers, little all kinds of the couvalets that I love. You see them there now. But the environmentalists, so-called environmentalists, some of them are claiming to be so concerned about the people, who are only concerned about politics. In other words, nothing Keith Mitchell and the New National Party attempts for development is going to get the support of certain persons in this country. In fact, some who might even claim to be associated with labor movement and should be interested in jobs, jobs, jobs. Every project to bring jobs, they're opposing it for some reason or the other. I find it strange. Seems to me if I was a labor man, every time I hear a job, I run in for it. So colleagues, I think I've spoken enough. I want to thank you, as I said, and ask Minister Steele to just make some additional comments that he may wish to make, since he's involved working closely with the developers and looking at the way forward.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Good morning to you all. The decision we've made as to a way forward is that we would appoint a committee of stakeholders, and we would like to be quite particular and to say for sure that we want to have on that committee some of those who have been most outspoken about Camana Park, to make sure that all interests are served. Names have been recommended, and we will be seeking through the social partners and other stakeholders additional names for consideration. Of the names that have been recommended so far, I've been able to speak to one of them and get a positive response from that individual. That individual is Mr. Finsley St. Louis. And you will see over the last couple of days, and I think some of the programs that will be aired tonight, etc., that he has been quite outspoken on it. So we want to make sure that people's interests, the stakeholders, all the stakeholders are served. The mandate of that committee will be to look at how our Grenadian people use the current Camana Park, and can that be improved? Can that be improved in the existing location, or can that be improved with an adjustment of location or so? And that is the main focus of this. Ideally, we would like to be able to please all individuals, the investor and the Grenadian people. But the principle, first and foremost, is how the Grenadian people interact with Camana Park, and is there a possibility of improving that? And therefore, to assemble a team of individuals who have been critical of government policies, not just this government policy, but government policies in the past that may affect our heritage, our national parks, etc. And therefore, they are genuine on the issues, and have them participate in this process, interacting with architects, planners, and the investor to see if there is a way forward for improvement. That is the main impetus of this.
All right, colleagues, yes. Yes.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Same to you.
I have a few questions. Dr. Mitchell, as it relates to Camana Park, right? I know, when you mentioned it, you would have heard the noise out there in the market. And persons are relatively concerned about the fact that it is even being considered, that proposal that is being put on the table in the name of development. Camana Park, according to the president of the Willie Reddit Foundation, is a heritage site for Grenada. The question I'm hearing out there is, how can you even consider moving a heritage site? One. The OAS report from 1997, that is a study, it recommends no further development. Hotel construction, as a matter of fact, on Grenada's beach. I read it. Are we ignoring that study? Minister Steele, back in 2013, I personally interviewed you. That was on Monday, 2nd September, about when Camana Park, the debate came up. Your words to me was, investors could look at spots on Grenada's beach, but definitely not Camana Park. Why now a change of heart?
Like I said, the impetus is to find an improvement, if there is such a possibility. Now, for instance, you refer to OAS report of development on Grenada's beach. There have been studies in the past that have recommended certain things that are now no longer suitable because of progress, development, etc. For instance, it was recommended that we have a sewage system. But now we should be considering, as a reasonable government, what we're doing with our sewage. But that was probably recommended by an equally acceptable international organization or so. So an OAS report saying something in the 1990s with respect to development in Grenada could not have contemplated technology, improvement, advancement, etc., and the ability of our peoples to go against such a report in the future, because the times have changed and the priorities may have changed, and also, most importantly, with an added and additional focus onto the environment, that there is a possibility for further development in Grenada's beach, on Grenada's beach, while still protecting what that OAS report sought to do, which was the environment of Grenada's beach.
So, Chairman, as someone who has been a consultant for international organizations, we have recommended results or decisions at one time. With 5 years later, we have had to adjust. So there's nothing sacrosanct about an advice, as you know, in life. And nothing tells us because someone or small group says that something should not be done, that means it cannot be questioned or looked at. So we have not taken a decision to do anything. But what I'm hearing, And I think it's a bit, doesn't make sense, not logical, that we shouldn't even be considering. Oh, my God, no. No. As long as I'm alive, I would have to reconsider a decision I made 10 years ago, 15 years ago. You've heard me sometimes saying a decision I made 10 years ago that I was wrong. Because new information, technology, as Minister Steele said, have brought forth additional approach. 15 years ago, it was said that it was not economical to attempt to get oil in the United States in certain quarters. Because of technology, it has become much cheaper to get oil in the same place that we've been told 15 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 7 years ago, that it cannot be right. So I don't think we should be saying, honestly, we should be saying because someone said this and someone said that, we should not even be considering. No, I don't think you meant that.
But I'm not in the argument, sir.
No, where you sung it, you didn't sing just as if what you were wearing. You were saying
it. And I'm saying it as it was said to me.
No, when you came out, if you listen to yourself, go back and listen to the tape. You sounded as if Chevron Benjamin. And even if you didn't, I am referring to even the ones that whose information that you're bringing forward. So that's what.
Some are of the opinion, sir, that even what if you make the decision is made, then we decide to move the park. Some are of the decision that it might be a political suicide.
Look, you didn't. I don't think you heard what Minister Steele said.
So
he said he would be involved in some of the same elements that who are critical. I will give you an example. Over the weekend, a certain individual whom I will not name, who I would say violently opposed, and honestly so, came to me. And when I sat with him, and I said, look at this. By the time the person left, I didn't say they necessarily accept any change, but they understood what the government was saying. So they're no longer violently opposed to the discussion. So that's it. Okay? Yes.
Selvin Noel, WFM. We're speaking about Timothy Antwine, and it's a pretty noble feat as the governor of the ECCB. He was the man in charge in the Ministry of Finance as the permanent secretary, and going about a certain mission. There's to be transition because he's supposed to take up the office in February. What is happening now between that time as it relates to things that would have been on the table, as making certain decisions for the homegrown?
Yes, as I explained already, a number of things have been done to ensure that the program would not be interfered with in any serious way. In fact, Timmy was on vacation because he has a lot of leave. As you know, he was so busy we couldn't afford him to take much leave. So he was taking some leave, and because of the decision, he has returned to work to ensure that he can put forward and be able to deal with many of the issues that have to be dealt with before his departure. Okay, so we don't expect, as I said, any major reduction in activities. So I will try and relieve me so that I go to my cabinet, and the big man is here, so you will get a chance to.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
Good morning.
Prime Minister and Minister Steele. A lot has been said about Camana Park. We have heard of environmental reports and studies and so. But Minister Steele disclosed a while ago that a committee has been established. I would like to know...
Will be established.
Will be established.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who are the persons who will be invited? He did mention former MP Finlayson to be for the South. Who are the others? And is that committee established as a result of public outcry and concern?
No. We're always, in fact, we did inform the social partnership that we will engage them, and therefore we'll be taking any plan before the social partners, where a number of those persons who are concerned are involved. And we have to go to, the cabinet has already not made a decision yet. The cabinet has not taken a decision. So the cabinet must be involved, because they're the ones who have to answer to their constituents and the people of the country. So,
when you gave the budget address in November, you did say a fact nearby. The word nearby were used. Why was that?
I'm talking about the consideration.
So,
in other words, if there was going to be any change, it'd have to be close by.
So a location has not been identified?
Yeah, there are a couple locations have been identified.
Would you mind sharing?
No, I can't, because some of them are not owned by government. So we have to engage people. All right? So the process is ongoing. That's why we're saying to people, I don't understand all the noises, because no decision yet has been made.
So do you think that response is to a lack of information or a dissemination?
We could be faulted for this. Part of what is happening, the government has to take responsibility for some of the debate going on. As I said, there's some genuine concern and some that are politically motivated. I'm interested more in the former, not the latter.
And my final question for now is, you mentioned the appointment of an economic advisor.
Yes.
Can you tell us if Mr. Patrick Ntwine is still associated with the ministry, and if so, what is his position?
Well, don't forget, Patrick he's not full-time with the ministry, and Patrick has a few other irons in the fire, regionally and internationally, so we could not rely on him to provide full-time economic advice to the government. He would provide strategic economic advice, but not full-time. We need somebody on base. Okay? Colleagues, I could afford to leave you now in capable hands of the... Yeah? You finish with me? You like to see me? Sarah, you have any question left?
In your political life, you are known not to go the distance in the full term of general elections. Are you contemplating the same thing this time around?
Well, I'll tell you something. That 2015 is a very interesting year. 2016, sorry. And yesterday we had a mammoth session in New Hampshire. So we're beginning the process of a lot of putting the politics also at the strategic level. And of course, as you know, since we have the opportunity to make decision as far as the new election date, we'll make that decision when we are satisfied that all the dots, the I's are dotted and the T's, in fact, taken care of. All right, colleagues?